Kaziranga. So now we are guessing.
Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, India's External Affairs Minister delivers India's national statement at 19th NAM Summit, highlights the challenges of COVID, conflict, climate change, debt and inflation. India launches Alliance for Global Good, Gender Equity and Equality at World Economic Forum at Davos. US President Joe Biden speaks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, reviews Gaza situation, efforts to secure release of remaining hostages also discussed. In sports, Indian shuttlers Chirag, Satvik and Prannoy storm into the semifinals of India Open. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar delivered India's national statement at the 19th NAM Summit in Kampala. Dr. Jaishankar touched upon a number of issues, including food, energy and health security. He also highlighted the challenges of COVID, climate change, conflict, debt and inflation. Besides this, he also pushed for reforms at United Nations. Dr. S. Jaishankar emphasized on India's unwavering commitment as Vishwamitra to global solidarity and cooperation. He also emphasized on the need for NAM to challenge concentrations that undermine our economic security. Dr. S. Jaishankar also reiterated India's commitment to the NAM principles and its belief in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, emphasizing that the world is a family. On the Gaza conflict, Dr. S. Jaishankar stressed that the humanitarian crisis requires a sustainable solution that gives immediate relief. He added terrorism and hostage-taking are unacceptable. He said that conflict must not spread. The minister also added that as the NAM, we must respond to these challenges. A multipolar world with a reformed United Nations at its core is the key. In a series of bilateral meetings and engagements at the NAM Summit in Uganda, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met with his counterparts from Bahrain, Bolivia, Azerbaijan and Venezuela on Friday. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar met with Bahraini Foreign Minister Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani. Dr. S. Jaishankar shared on social media platform X, and I quote him, "Always good to meet Bahraini Foreign Minister Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani, discussed the ongoing developments in the region." Taking to X, Dr. S. Jaishankar also shared about his meeting with Venezuelan Foreign Minister. Good meeting with Venezuelan Foreign Minister Yuvan Gil, discussed our economic, energy and development cooperation, exchanged views on regional and global issues. In conversation with his Azerbaijani counterpart, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar discussed bilateral relations and regional matters. Dr. S. Jaishankar also held a meeting with his Bolivian Foreign Minister Celinda Zosa and discussed cooperation in development and traditional medicine. Dr. S. Jaishankar also discussed bilateral relations with his Serbian counterpart and posted on X, and I quote, "Delighted to meet Serbian Foreign Minister Ivica Dacic, discussed advancing our time-tested bilateral partnership, exchanged assessment on respective regions." India has announced the establishment of the Alliance for Global Good, Gender Equity and Equality on the sidelines of the ongoing World Economic Forum 2024 at Davos. The idea of this alliance emerged from the G20 leaders' declaration and India's abiding commitment to the cause of women-led development as propounded by Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The primary and stated objective of this new alliance is to bring together global best practices, knowledge sharing and investment in the identified areas of women's health, education and enterprise. The alliance will be taking forward the commitments of the G20 leaders for the benefit of the larger global community as a follow-up to the activities of the engagement group and initiatives under the G20 framework. Inter alia, the Business 20, Women 20 and G20 Empower. The alliance has garnered support from industry leaders and over 10,000 partners from the industry. Supported by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the alliance will be housed and anchored by CII Center for Women Leadership. The meeting of the World Economic Forum in Davos concluded on Friday. Political and business leaders from across the globe met to discuss cooperation around AI, misinformation, climate and diplomacy. The theme of the reform of the forum was rebuilding trust, while on the final day, a panel at the World Economic Forum also discussed trends shaping the Middle East region in 2024. Take a look at this detailed report.
The World Economic Forum meeting concluded in Davos, Switzerland, under the theme of rebuilding trust. On Friday, political and business leaders from across the globe met to discuss cooperation around AI, misinformation, climate and diplomacy. WEF President Borge Brande said in his closing remarks that it is not possible to face global challenges alone.
There's no longer such a thing as a country, company or community insulated from global shocks. And when it comes to leveraging opportunities, it is not possible to do so alone.
On the final day of the forum, a panel at the WEF also discussed trends shaping the Middle East region in 2024.
I think that there's a growing acknowledgement that conflict in the world, particularly such as in the Middle East, must be resolved before one can actually get the trust in the economy, get the supply lines going, get a just system going and stability in the world. So I think that that realization is part of the rebuilding trust, that the Western powers and the Northern powers understand that their role in fueling conflict is not going to be helping the global economy.
India's Minister of Petroleum, Hardeep Singh Puri, and IT Minister Ashwani Vaishnav represented India at the annual meet. India's Women and Child Development Minister, Smriti Irani, too, was present to highlight reforms taken in India with regard to women empowerment. The minister said India also announced the setting up of an alliance for global good, gender equity and equality on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum.
Facts, meaning
WEF's annual meeting took place in Switzerland's Davos from 15 to 19th January. The forum provides a global platform for meaningful connections between stakeholders to establish trust and build initiatives for cooperation and progress.
Smart City Mission Conclave is being held in New Delhi at the Exhibition Centre. The Ministry of Housing and Urban Development displayed several models of different smart cities of India. DD India correspondent Dibendu Mondal has more on this.
Smart City Convergence in New Delhi and the government's Smart City Mission has been a flagship mission of this government. How the face of the city is changing and becoming more smart. I'll go to Vishal, who will explain us about the Smart City Udaipur.
In this project, we have upgraded the existing utilities, including the sewer network, water network, electrical network, and for the water network, we have laid a new water line in the old city of Udaipur, and rehabilitate the old sewer network with the new one. And we have underground the overhead electrical power lines through duct, and we have covered the open drains through this infrastructure. We have helped the citizen of Udaipur.
I'm here at the Venkatesh Lok project of Satna, which is also a unique project because it's a temple town which has been redeveloped, and it's part of the Smart City Mission. What features of smartness do we see in this Smart City of Satna?
Yeah, so this is a very excellent project which shows the amalgamation of the religious aspects with the vibrant public spaces in a smart city. Now, Satna Smart City took this project of the development of not only the temple precinct but also the adjoining area. With a cost of around 9 crores, they developed the main temple, its adjacent areas, and the very unique prospects of this project is the 10 avatars of Lord Vishnu. You can see there is a lot of developments for making it a vibrant public spaces. Like there are parks and there are recreational spaces also, food courts also, and then for cleanliness purpose there are cleaning areas also, admin blocks also. So now because of this development, the footfall in this area has increased dramatically.
We can move further, not just cities, but also the government is trying to build a digital library of sorts where, we are at the digitization of manuscripts in Prayagraj, which is a unique project because remember, it's a holy city where several manuscripts, religious manuscripts, as well as other important documents are there. But the government under the Smart City Mission project is trying to digitize the manuscripts and preserve it forever. There'll be 100 such cities in the coming years across India, which will become smart, which will become more energy efficient, and there are multiple aspects of smart city that makes a city look smart. With camera person Sunny Kalra, this is Divyendu Mondal from New Delhi for DD India.
Surrounding the consecration of the Ram Temple at Ayodhya on 22nd of January. Preparations for the consecration ceremony of the Ram idol at Ayodhya Temple are on at full swing. The large-scale rituals and events commenced on January 16th with the 51-inch idol of Lord Ram set to be consecrated on January 22nd. At the Ram Temple on January 19th, a Yagya fire pit was prepared, guided by Vedic mantras and special methods. A ritual of profound significance for devotees has been performed. On Saturday, the Sanctum Sanctorum of the Ram Mandir will undergo purification with water from various rivers. One of the expensive Ramayana, which costs around $2,000 and weighs 45 kilograms, reached Ayodhya. In line with the Ram Temple, the outer box of the holy book has 3 floors made of American walnut wood. The ink used has been imported from Japan and the paper is made in France. The speciality of this paper is that this book will remain like this for about 400 years and its printing will not fade and people of 4 generations can read this book comfortably. Amid the surge of enthusiasm among people for the consecration ceremony of Ram Temple in Ayodhya, the premises were decked up with flowers. Over 1,100 tons of flowers were brought to decorate the temple for the D-Day on January 22nd. Let's take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across India. The BRICS Chamber of Commerce and Industry India chapter successfully hosted the BRICS CCI Annual Recognition Awards 2024 in India's capital. The awards represent an ongoing process of celebrating the common factor of unleashing the power of the BRICS bloc. The inaugural ceremony was attended by former President of India, Ramnath Kovind. The Amrit Udyan of the Rashtrapati Bhavan of India will open for public viewing from February 2nd to March 31st. People can visit the Udyan 6 days a week, except on Mondays. Walk-in visitors have to register themselves at the facilitation counters in the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Amrit Udyan is the iconic garden in India's President House. The annual dolphin census in Indian state of Odisha, Chilika Lake, is scheduled to begin on Saturday. Last year, a total of 173 dolphins were seen in Chilika Lake, in which 154 were Irrawaddy and 19 were bottlenose dolphins. The counting will be done through GPS, binocular and modern technology. Every year, the Chilika Forest and Chilika Development Authority calculates the number of Irrawaddy dolphins in Chilika Lake. A drone show was organized at Begumpet Airport in India's Hyderabad as part of Wings India 2024 event. It is the largest civil aviation event in Asia. The event includes exhibitions, demonstration flights, static displays, media conferences and business meetings. We're ready for a short break, but still to come on this edition of DD India Live. US carried out another round of fresh strikes against Houthis in Yemen. Japan makes historic landing on the moon, becomes the 5th country to achieve successful moon landing. Marred by poor living conditions, Benito, the mascot giraffe of Ciudad Juarez, is set to be relocated for a better life.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
Voice of a rising aspirational world. Stories of challenges, struggles and accomplishment. A world battling conflict, hunger and poverty. Embracing growth, development, science and technology. A voice of progress, a voice of unity. Watch Voice of the Global South with me, Akshay Dongre, only on DD India.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live. Let's get to international updates. US President Joe Biden said that he had a conversation with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Friday regarding potential alternatives of the establishment of an independent state for the Palestinians, keeping in mind that not every nation has its own armed forces. The White House stated that Biden and Netanyahu had their first phone conversation in almost a month, and that the two leaders discussed ways to secure the remaining hostages held by Hamas and to further facilitate humanitarian aid to Gaza. Biden said Israeli Prime Minister did not oppose all two-state solutions and there are a number of possibilities.
So, two-state solution. There's a number of countries that are members of the UN that are still don't have their own military. A number of states that have limitations on it. And so I think there's ways in which this could work.
U.S. Central Command forces on Friday conducted strikes against 3 Houthi anti-ship missiles that were aimed into the southern Red Sea. The U.S. military on social media platform X said, and I quote, that U.S. forces identified missiles in Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen and determined that they presented an imminent threat to merchant vessels and the U.S. Navy ships in the region. U.S. forces subsequently struck and destroyed the missiles in self-defense. The latest incident took place around 15:45 GMT on Friday. Calling drug trafficking a regional problem, Ecuador's President Daniel Noboa asked the governments in the Latin American zone to take a united front in the war against it. Noboa was speaking to a Colombian media outlet on Friday. During his interview, he added that Ecuador will also make efforts to extradite foreign prisoners from Ecuadorian prisons.
I think the region, not only Colombia, has allowed for this problem to grow in an uncontrolled way. We must stay together to fight this. It is a regional and worldwide problem. The consumption of these products is in United States, in Europe.
Argentine authorities detained and deported family and associates of the fugitive Ecuadorian drug trafficker Jose Adolfo Macias, who had escaped from the Ecuadorian prison on January 7th. Addressing a media conference, Argentine Security Minister Patricia Bullrich informed that a total of 8 people were detained who had arrived in Argentina in early January. Also known as Fito, Macias was serving a 34-year sentence for various crimes, including drug trafficking and murder. Calling upcoming protests against right-wing extremists good and right, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz addressed the countrymen in a video message. Scholz supported the weekend protests, calling right-wing extremism an attack on democracy. Scholz also welcomed the new law that shortens the path to citizenship and eases deportation rules. The planned protests are in response to a meeting of far-right figures in Berlin, which discussed the concept of remigration. Shortly after the video release, around 35,000 people took to the streets to demonstrate against the far-right Alternative for Germany, an organization under investigation by security authorities at risk of being declared an extremist organization.
Von Tübingen bis Kiel.
Again this weekend, there are a lot of demonstrations planned against the right-wing extremist enemies of our democracy. I find that's right and good. If there is something in Germany which must never ever find a place again, it is the national race ideology of the Nazis. The repulsive relocation plans by these extremists is just that.
And now we take a look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the globe. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau concluded his two-day trip in the northern Canadian territory Nunavut's Iqaluit by plotting a dog sled and fitting a block of snow to an igloo. Trudeau signed a devolution agreement on Thursday with Nunavut's Premier PJ Akagok, granting the territory the right to collect royalties that would otherwise go to the federal government. A giraffe in Mexico named Benito is set to be relocated from a public park in Ciudad Juárez to a wildlife sanctuary in Puebla after activists of the group Save Benito denounced the poor conditions he was living in. Benito arrived in Ciudad in May 2023 to become the city's mascot, but was living alone in a small cage for the past 8 months. A 65-year-old man was rescued by a state police officer with the help of his dog Ruby after he fell into a frozen lake in Michigan. The officer attached an orange rescue disc to the dog's collar. Through commands, Ruby was able to take the rescue disc to the man, who was pulled to safety by the officer and a firefighter. Let's get you updates from the world of business now. The International Monetary Fund's board on Friday approved a first review of Ghana's loan program, allowing for the immediate disbursement of about $600 million under its $3 billion bailout program on Friday. The decision comes after the gold, oil and cocoa producer reached a deal to restructure $5.4 billion of loan with its official creditors. It was a key step towards unlocking the second tranche of IMF funding. Ghana requested the IMF for financial support in 2022 as it grappled with its worst economic crisis. US President Joe Biden signed into law a stopgap bill on Friday, averting a partial government shutdown that will fund the federal government through early March, the White House said. The House on Thursday passed a stopgap measure meant to allow Congress to negotiate and approve $1.59 trillion spending deal negotiated by Democratic Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson for the 2024 fiscal year that began on October 1st. The White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said in a statement on Friday that the new measure prevents a needless shutdown, maintains current funding levels, and includes no extreme policies.
Signed the continuing resolution passed by bipartisan majorities in the House and Senate that prevents a needless shutdown, maintains current funding levels, and includes no extreme policies. Instead of wasting more time on partisan appropriation bills that violate the budget agreement 2/3 of them voted for last spring, House Republicans must finally do their jobs and work across the aisle to pass full-year funding bills that deliver for the American people and address urgent domestic and national security priorities by passing the president's supplemental request.
Let's get you updates from the world of sports now in badminton. In Asian Games 2022 gold medalists Chirag Shetty and Satvik Sairaj Rankireddy, alongside bronze medalist HS Prannoy, recorded contrasting victories and moved into the semifinals of India Open 2024 in New Delhi on Friday. Chirag and Satvik registered a dominating 21-7, 21-10 victory against Kim Astrup and Anders Rasmussen of Denmark. The Indian duo set up a highly anticipated clash with former world champions So Woo Yik and Aaron Shea of Malaysia. Prannoy had to fight hard to secure his maiden semi-final berth in the tournament by defeating Wang Zhuwei of Chinese Taipei in a 21-11, 17-21, 21-18 win. The world number 9 will face 6th-seeded Shi Yuqi of China in the final 4. And before we end this bulletin, let's relish these eye-catching visuals from London's Canary Wharf district that has been lit up for the ongoing annual Winter Lights Festival scheduled to end on January 27th. That's it in this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and also Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.